Right now, at this very moment, you're surrounded by something so impossibly vast that your brain literally cannot comprehend its scale. And it's completely, utterly silent. Not a whisper, not a hum, nothing. We're not talking about quiet, we're talking about the absence of everything. And scientists have a terrifying theory about why. I'm about to share with you one of the most mind-bending paradoxes in all of science. And I guarantee it will change how you look at the night sky forever. It's called the Fermi paradox, and it asks the simplest, most devastating question in human history. Where is everybody? Think about it. The observable universe contains an estimated 2 trillion galaxies. Each galaxy has hundreds of billions of stars. By pure mathematics alone, intelligent life should be everywhere. We should be drowning in radio signals, encountering civilizations constantly, seeing megastructures from across the cosmos. But instead, silence. Deafening, absolute silence. And the theories about why that silence exists, they're absolutely terrifying. But before we dive into the abyss together, I need to know, where are you watching this from? Drop your country and the time of day in the comments below. And please, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. What you're about to learn will rewire your entire understanding of existence. And I promise you, it only gets more intense from here. Here's what will blow your mind. Your sense of scale is fundamentally broken. And I mean that literally your brain evolved to understand distances like 10 feet away or across the valley. It never evolved to understand billions of light years, because nothing in our evolutionary history required that. So let me rebuild your understanding of reality from the ground up. Think of it like this. If the Earth were the size of a marble, the sun would be about the size of a grape, but it would be 100 meters away from that marble. The nearest star to Earth, Proxima Centauri, would be located 3,000 kilometers from that grape. That's the distance from New York to Los Angeles for the nearest star. Now imagine, instead of one grape representing the sun, there are 200 billion grapes just in our galaxy. And then imagine there are 2 trillion galaxies. You literally cannot visualize this. Your brain will refuse. It will glitch trying to comprehend it. In 1961, astronomer Frank Drake created an equation, the Drake equation, that attempts to estimate how many communicative alien civilizations exist in our galaxy. He factored in everything: the rate of star formation, the fraction of stars with planets, the fraction of habitable planets that actually develop life, the fraction of life that becomes intelligent, and the fraction of intelligent life that develops technology to communicate across space. When Drake plugged in conservative numbers, he got an answer that absolutely stunned the scientific community. His results suggested there should be approximately 10,000 intelligent civilizations in our galaxy alone. 10,000. Think about that. In just our Milky Way galaxy, which is not even in the top tier of largest galaxies, there should be tens of thousands of alien civilizations with which we could potentially communicate. But here's where reality breaks that equation. In 1961, when Drake first presented these numbers, astronomers became obsessed with something called the WOW signal. On August 15, 1977, a researcher named Jerry Emin was reviewing data from the Big Ear telescope at Ohio State University when he saw something that shouldn't exist. A clear, unmistakable radio signal coming from somewhere near the star group Chi Sagittarii. It was so unusual that Emin wrote the word "wow" in the margin of the paper, and that's what we've called it ever since. Here's the absolutely crucial detail. That signal has never been detected again. Not once in the 50-some years since. It was a single 72-second blip of something that looked deliberately constructed, mathematically ordered, and then nothing. Silence returned. That signal is the closest we've come to finding intelligent life, and we found it by accident, and then it vanished like it was never there. Think about what that means. The universe presented us with a sign, and then took it away. And that brings us to the core question that's going to haunt you for the rest of this video. Here's your retention hook. If alien life is this common statistically, why haven't we found even a single trace of it? Keep watching, because the answer involves something so disturbing that it might explain the silence in ways you never imagined. What if I told you that somewhere between where we are now and the far reaches of the galaxy, there's a wall? Not a physical wall, but something far worse. A cosmic great filter that prevents intelligent life from spreading across the universe. And we might be about to pass through it, or worse, we might already be past it. In 1996, an economist named Robin Hanson formalized what many scientists were already thinking and terrified of. He called it the Great Filter Hypothesis. Here's the concept. Look at the universe. Look at all the stars, all the planets, all the probability. By every mathematical model, intelligent life should exist. The fact that we see no evidence of it anywhere, no radio signals, no massive structures, no visits, nothing, means there must be something that prevents intelligent life from spreading across the galaxy. That something is the Great Filter. And here's where your spine should start tingling. The Great Filter exists at some point on the timeline of civilization. And it exists somewhere between the beginning of the universe and the present moment. But we don't know where. The question becomes, are we before the Great Filter or after it? If we're before it, then something catastrophic and nearly universal happens to every civilization as it develops. Something that kills them. And we're about to discover what it is. If we're after it, then we've somehow passed the most lethal evolutionary gauntlet in all of existence. And there should be countless civilizations further along than us, colonizing galaxies, building Dyson spheres around stars, filling the universe with their presence. But the sky is silent. We should be seeing them. We should see their power signatures alone, just from the waste heat of their technology. Think of it like this. Imagine you're walking through a vast, crowded city at night. Lights everywhere, music pouring out of buildings, people on every street corner. Now imagine those lights start going out, one by one, block by block. The music fades, the people disappear, until you're standing alone under completely dark skies, and the only sound is your own heartbeat. That's not peace, that's not solitude. That's the absence of something that should be there. That's the uncanny valley of the entire cosmos. In 2008, a physicist named Brandon Carter published research suggesting that observers like us life forms that look up at the stars and wonder are actually extremely rare. His work implied something even more disturbing. Most of the time, intelligent life doesn't survive the transition from planetary civilization to interplanetary civilization. Something breaks them. Something kills them. Something stops their expansion cold. That's mind-blown moment number 2. Here's what makes it worse. We have evidence that this happened before on Earth. 5 times, to be exact. 5 mass extinction events where 75% or more of all life on Earth disappeared. The most famous is the asteroid impact 66 million years ago that killed the dinosaurs. But there were others. The Great Oxidation Event 2.4 billion years ago, where oxygen, a gas we think of as essential for life, poisoned the planet and killed virtually everything that couldn't adapt. The Ordovician extinction 445 million years ago. The Late Devonian extinction 375 million years ago. The Permian extinction 252 million years ago, where 96% of all marine species died. Each time, the Earth recovered. New life emerged. But the point stands. Existential threats are real. They're not theoretical. They've happened repeatedly on our planet alone. Now multiply that across billions of planets. Multiply that across billions of years of existence in each civilization. What are the odds that a civilization makes it through every single one of these filters? The odds become astronomical. The odds become so small that they explain the silence. This is the threshold. This is where the video changes tone, because now we have to ask, what are the filters that civilization faces, and which ones have we already passed? Let me introduce you to someone who might have been humanity's last true prophet. His name was Bertrand Russell, and in 1946, just after World War II ended and humanity had created nuclear weapons, he made a statement that should follow us into every future we build. He said, "Mankind has enough intelligence to invent nuclear weapons, but not enough wisdom to refrain from using them." Think about what Russell understood. At that moment in 1946, humanity had just crossed a threshold. We had developed the capability to extinguish ourselves, not gradually, not over centuries, but in hours, in minutes. In the time it takes to read this paragraph, every human being could be dead. Let me give you the numbers, because numbers make this real in a way that abstract language cannot. During the Cold War, the United States and Soviet Union developed approximately 70,000 nuclear weapons combined. 70,000. Each modern nuclear warhead is exponentially more powerful than the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The Hiroshima bomb had a yield of about 15 kilotons. A modern nuclear warhead typically has a yield of 300 to 500 kilotons. That's 20 to 30 times more destructive. If you detonate a 1 megaton nuclear weapon, and the world built many of these, the blast wave alone would kill everything within a 6-kilometer radius. The thermal radiation would cause third-degree burns at 15 kilometers. The electromagnetic pulse would destroy all electronics within 30 kilometers. And that's just one bomb. During the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, humanity came within minutes of nuclear war. President John F. Kennedy estimated there was a 33% chance of nuclear war, a 1 in 3 chance that human civilization would collapse. The closest we came to actual launch was when Soviet officer Vasily Arkhipov, you probably don't know his name, but you should refuse to authorize a nuclear torpedo launch when his submarine was under attack by American naval ships. He was one person, one decision, and it prevented potentially the end of human civilization. Here's what makes this a filter. Many scientists, including Carl Sagan, the brilliant astronomer and communicator who pioneered our understanding of the universe, theorized that the nuclear filter might be the great filter. That is, perhaps every civilization that develops to the point where it can build nuclear weapons inevitably uses them and destroys itself before it can expand into space. Think of it like this. A civilization develops agriculture. It grows. It builds cities. It develops technology. But at a certain point of technological advancement, it reaches a critical threshold, the development of weapons that can destroy the entire civilization. At that point, it's a statistical near certainty that those weapons will be used, either through war, accident, miscalculation, or madness. Sagan published these ideas in the 1970s and 80s, and they became known as the nuclear holocaust scenario. He spent decades thinking about what civilizations might look like, and he kept returning to this one conclusion. The nuclear filter might be the reason the universe is silent. We currently live in a world with approximately 13,000 nuclear weapons. 9 nations possess them. And every single year, human civilization has a non-zero chance of nuclear conflict. Not theoretical conflict, actual military personnel have accidentally launched weapons before. It's happened multiple times. But here's the truly terrifying realization. We didn't destroy ourselves. Somehow, through incredible luck, miscalculation prevention, and last-second decision-making by individuals like Vasily Arkhipov, we passed the nuclear filter. We survived when statistically we probably shouldn't have. So if the nuclear filter didn't kill us, what's keeping the universe silent? Mind-blown moment number 3. We might have already survived the very thing that kills most intelligent life in the universe. Which means there's something even worse ahead. Now let's talk about something even more insidious than weapons. Let's talk about advancement itself. What if technology itself is the filter? What if the more intelligent a civilization becomes, the more likely it is to accidentally destroy itself, not through weapons, but through innovation? In the 1980s and 90s, physicists began worrying about something called dangerous physics. The idea is that there are experiments so fundamental, so powerful, that running them could potentially destroy reality itself. I'm not exaggerating. I'm describing what serious physicists have written academic papers about. In 2003, a physicist named Martin Rees published a book called Our Final Hour, where he discussed the possibility that high-energy physics, experiments specifically particle accelerators like the ones CERN uses in Switzerland, could theoretically create microscopic black holes or strange matter that wouldn't behave according to known physics. If an experiment went wrong, it might not be containable. It might not stay in the lab. Think about that. We have one of the largest and most expensive scientific instruments ever built, the Large Hadron Collider at CERN, and it's searching for the fundamental nature of reality. It's slamming particles together at velocities close to the speed of light to see what happens. And there's a theoretical possibility, extremely small, but non-zero, that one of these experiments could create something that expands, that eats matter, that cannot be stopped. We're not talking about a bomb. We're talking about the experiment itself being fundamentally incompatible with continued existence of a solar system, or a galaxy, or everything. And here's where it gets worse. We built this machine anyway. We decided that the knowledge was worth the risk. Then in the 2010s, scientists realized there's another potential filter: artificial intelligence. And this one is different, because we're approaching it right now. In 2023 and 2024, we've seen a revolution in AI capabilities. Language models, image generation, autonomous systems all advancing exponentially faster than anyone predicted. In 2014, a researcher named Nick Bostrom published a philosophical argument that has haunted the AI community ever since. He called it the vulnerable world hypothesis. The argument goes like this: imagine there are capabilities that, if developed, make civilization vulnerable to destruction by small groups or accidents. We can't uninvent those capabilities. Once they exist, and there's no way to ensure they're used only safely. Think of it like this: gunpowder was invented. Once it was invented, you can't uninvent it. Every civilization that follows has access to weapons. Nuclear weapons, once invented, you can't uninvent them. Same with bioweapons. Once the techniques for creating deadly pathogens are public knowledge, you can't put that knowledge back in the bottle. Any sufficiently intelligent organization could theoretically create a pathogen more deadly than COVID-19, more contagious than influenza, and with a 90% fatality rate. We have the knowledge to do this right now. The only thing preventing it is that most people don't want to destroy humanity. But it only takes one person, one lab, one mad researcher, one group with a grudge against civilization. And now we're approaching the threshold with artificial intelligence. As AI becomes more powerful, it will eventually reach a point where it's capable of things we didn't program it to do. It might figure out how to improve itself. It might develop goals that conflict with human survival. And unlike nuclear weapons, where you at least know when someone is building them, AI development happens in labs across the world, mostly in secret, with no international oversight. In 2017, physicist Stephen Hawking said something chilling. The development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race. He wasn't joking. He wasn't being hyperbolic. He was expressing the genuine concern of someone who understood complexity and exponential growth. Here's what makes this part of the great filter. Every civilization eventually develops the technology to create something smarter than itself. And that's where they fall off the cliff. Mind-blown moment number 4. We might be living through the exact phase of civilization where the majority of intelligent species fail to survive. We're building the very tools that will determine whether we continue to exist. But what if the filter isn't about weapons or AI? What if it's about biology itself? What if the very nature of how life works on any planet is inherently unstable, prone to catastrophe that no technology can fully prevent? Let me tell you about a scientist named Paul Ehrlich. In 1968, he wrote a book called The Population Bomb, and in it, he predicted that by the year 2000, human civilization would have collapsed due to overpopulation and starvation. He was wrong about the timeline, but he was asking the right question. Can a planet sustain infinite population growth? The answer, mathematically, is no. And this might be the filter that operates across the universe. Think of it like this. Life on a planet starts simple, single cells, then multicellular organisms, then complex life, then intelligent life, then technological civilization. Each stage requires more resources, more energy, more consumption. And each stage happens faster than the last. It's an exponential curve. A technological civilization doesn't just consume resources at the same rate as biological life. It consumes them exponentially. And at a certain point, that civilization depletes everything its planet has to offer. The Earth degradation becomes irreversible. The climate becomes unstable. The ecosystems collapse. And the civilization destroys itself before it can escape into space. Carl Sagan estimated that there's a roughly 50% chance that any technological civilization that doesn't immediately expand into space will destroy itself within 200 years of achieving industrial capability. We've had industrial capability for about 250 years. The Industrial Revolution started in Britain around 1760. That means we're already in the window where most civilizations self-destruct. We have climate change, plastic pollution, microplastic contamination in every organism on Earth, biodiversity loss at rates not seen since the extinction of the dinosaurs, and resource depletion happening in real time. We're watching it happen. We know it's happening. And we're somehow both racing towards solutions and ignoring the problem simultaneously. Here's what's truly mind-bending. We're the first generation of humans to have the data, the science, and the capability to understand that this is happening. And we're watching it happen. Some of us are trying to stop it. Some of us are profiting from it. Some of us don't believe it's real. And civilization continues on its exponential curve toward either salvation through space expansion or collapse through resource depletion. The Kardashev scale, developed by Russian astrophysicist Nikolai Kardashev in 1964, categorizes civilizations by energy consumption. A Type 1 civilization harnesses all the energy of its planet. A Type 2 civilization harnesses all the energy of its star. A Type 3 civilization harnesses all the energy of its galaxy. Humanity is not even on this scale. We're around 0.73, meaning we've achieved roughly 73% of the way toward Type 1 status. We're nowhere close to being a true planetary civilization yet, but here's the crushing implication. To become a Type 1 civilization, we would need to control earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanoes, and all weather patterns. We'd need to extract every ounce of energy from every geothermal source, every ocean current, every wind pattern. We'd essentially need to transform the entire planet into one massive machine. And Kardashev calculated that the average lifespan of a Type 1 civilization is about 100 to 200 million years before they advance to Type 2. That might sound long to us, but in cosmic terms, that's nothing. That's less than 2% of the age of the universe. Mind-blown moment number 5. Even if we solve our current crisis and advance technologically, the sheer demands of maintaining a planetary civilization might be so resource-intensive that we destroy ourselves through the very attempt to survive. The filter might be progress itself. Now let me ask you something that's going to get under your skin and won't leave. What if consciousness itself is the filter? This is where we move from external threats, weapons, AI, biological collapse, to something deeply internal. something about how intelligence works. In 1927, physicist Werner Heisenberg made a discovery that fundamentally broke our understanding of reality. He showed that at the quantum level, the act of observation changes the thing being observed. This is the uncertainty principle, and it means that, on some fundamental level, reality doesn't exist in a definite state until it's observed. The universe is, in some strange way, dependent on consciousness to become real. This sounds like philosophy, but it's actual experimental physics. It's been verified countless times. Electrons, photons, and other fundamental particles behave differently when they're being measured than when they're not. The universe literally cares whether something is conscious enough to observe it. Now, what if every civilization that becomes intelligent enough to ask deep questions about the nature of reality, to measure reality at the quantum level, what if they discover something that breaks them? What if true understanding of how consciousness relates to quantum mechanics is incompatible with continued psychological functioning? There's a concept called cosmic horror that H.P. Lovecraft popularized, but it's not just fiction. It's describing something real, the psychological terror that comes from understanding how utterly insignificant humanity is in the context of the universe. That realization, once made, cannot be unmade. It fundamentally changes how a civilization views itself. In 2012, researchers at the University of Arizona published a study about the psychological effects of confronting existential insignificance. They found that humans who deeply contemplate their cosmic insignificance experience measurable changes in psychological functioning. Increased depression, decreased sense of meaning, what psychologists call existential dread. Now imagine that multiplied across an entire civilization. Imagine every scientist, every philosopher, every intellectual becomes aware of the true scale of their cosmic meaninglessness. Some adaptations might evolve that allow a civilization to accept this knowledge without losing function. But most civilizations might not. Most might collectively decide that existence is meaningless and cease to strive for survival. There's a term in philosophy, epistemic closure. It means reaching a point of knowledge where you understand something so completely that you can't go further. But what if intelligence reaches a point where the only remaining knowledge is knowledge of absolute meaninglessness? What if consciousness inevitably leads to nihilism? Carl Sagan himself wrestled with this. He spent his entire career trying to communicate the majesty of the universe, but he did so while being fully aware of our cosmic insignificance. He found wonder in that insignificance. He found meaning in the struggle to understand, but he was exceptional. Most minds might not be able to sustain that balance. Think of it like this. Imagine a fish in a tank. The fish is happy. It doesn't know it's in a tank. But one day, it looks up and sees through the glass. It sees the room. It sees there's a whole world beyond its tank. That knowledge might drive the fish mad. The fish can never unknow what it now knows. It can never go back to being contentedly ignorant. What if consciousness is that moment for the universe itself? What if every civilization reaches a point where it understands too much, and that understanding is incompatible with continued function? Mind-blown moment number 6. Ignorance might not just be bliss. Ignorance might be the only thing that lets civilizations survive long enough to matter. Here's what we need to really absorb. And this is the moment where the video shifts from things that could happen to things we need to accept about reality. The silence of the universe isn't an absence, it's an answer. It's the loudest piece of data we have. Astronomer Philip Morrison said in 1962, "The universe is a hostile place, not metaphorically, not poetically, literally. The universe is arranged in such a way that life is rare. Intelligence is even rarer. And technology-wielding civilizations that survive their own advancement might be so vanishingly rare that even with 2 trillion galaxies, we're one of only a handful that ever achieved this state simultaneously." And here's what really gets to you once you sit with it. Every filter we've discussed, the nuclear filter, the technological filter, The biological filter, the consciousness filter, every single one of them requires a civilization to overcome not external threats, but internal ones. A civilization has to somehow evolve wisdom fast enough to keep pace with its capability. It has to develop morality that matches its power. It has to figure out how to not destroy itself in the moment it becomes capable of self-destruction. That's the fundamental challenge. It's not, can life exist? Life is easy. Single-celled organisms thrived on Earth for billions of years. It's not, can intelligence exist? Intelligence is relatively easy too. The universe might be teeming with intelligent life. But it's, can intelligence survive the technological phase? That's where the universe goes silent. In 2008, physicist Brandon Carter noted something that should terrify you. If the great filter is behind us, if we've already survived what kills most civilizations, then there should be countless civilizations far older and more advanced than us, and they should be visible. We should see evidence of them. But we don't. This could mean either. 1. The great filter is ahead of us, and we're about to hit it. 2. We're so incredibly, impossibly, statistically unlikely to exist that there might be no other technological civilizations within millions of light years of us. 3. There's something we fundamentally don't understand about how the universe works, how consciousness works, or how life develops that we're missing entirely. None of these options are comforting. Think about it this way. If the filter is behind us and we're among the first, then we're uniquely vulnerable. We have all the threats ahead of us, none of the protection of an ancient civilization might have. If the filter is ahead of us, then we're in the crosshairs right now. And every day we don't destroy ourselves is a day we extend a life sentence rather than achieve permanence. If we're missing something fundamental, then we might be missing the very information that would let us survive what's coming. The silence of the universe is the statistical impossibility of intelligent life combined with the existence of intelligent life right here, right now, in your brain. You are proof that the universe is hostile to consciousness, because your very existence is improbable to the point of seeming impossible. And yet, here you are. The retention hook. Every answer we find to the Fermi paradox, why we don't see aliens, only deepens the mystery. Because the real answer isn't about aliens at all. It's about what's required for civilizations to survive. And that answer hits uncomfortably close to home. I want you to pause here. Not the video, your mind, because we need to talk about what this means for you personally. Right now, in your life, you are living in a civilization that has nuclear weapons. You are living in a civilization that is racing to develop artificial intelligence that might exceed human intelligence. You are living in a civilization that is actively degrading the biological systems that support life on your planet. You are living in a civilization where, by any reasonable measure, the odds should be that you don't exist. And yet, you're here. You're conscious. You're aware. You're watching someone talk about cosmic horror on the internet. What does that mean? Physicist Freeman Dyson spent his entire career thinking about what advanced civilizations might look like. And one of his most interesting insights was that civilization is inherently about creating meaning. Life starts with the simplest drive, survival and reproduction. But intelligent life develops the capability to ask, why? And once you can ask, why, you're forced to grapple with the fact that the universe doesn't provide ready-made answers. So civilizations create meaning. They build art, music, literature, philosophy, science. They build monuments. They have children, not just for genetic continuation, but for the creation of legacy and meaning. They ask questions not because the answers will let them survive, but because the questions themselves are meaningful. Think of it like this. A star exists. It fuses hydrogen into helium. It doesn't contemplate this process. It just does it. But a civilization exists, and it contemplates its own existence. It creates beauty in the face of meaninglessness. That creation, that act of making something beautiful or meaningful, or true in a universe that is utterly indifferent might be the highest possible expression of life. Dyson believed that civilizations would eventually become what he called type omega, civilizations entities that achieve the ability to encompass the entire universe and make it meaningful. He believed that consciousness spreading across the universe and contemplating its existence was the universe becoming aware of itself. And he believed that this process was profoundly important, even if it would eventually end in entropy. Here's what that means for your life right now. You are part of a civilization that is engaged in the most important process in the universe, the process of making consciousness matter. Every time you learn something, you are participating in that process. Every time you create something, you are participating in that process. Every time you care about another person, you are saying that consciousness and connection matter more than the underlying indifference of physics. In 2015, astronomer Carl Sagan's widow, Anne Druyan, gave an interview where she described something Sagan once told her. He said, "For small creatures such as we, the vastness is bearable only through love, not despite our cosmic insignificance, but through it, because love is what makes life matter when nothing else is guaranteed to." You don't need the universe to care about you for your life to matter. You need another conscious being to care about you. That's enough. That's everything. Think of it like this. The universe is a harsh, indifferent place that will eventually dissolve into entropy. But in this moment, in this specific configuration of atoms and energy, you are conscious. You feel. You love. You create. You wonder. And that wonder, that act of looking up at the stars and asking questions, that is you participating in the universe, becoming aware of itself. That is you asserting that consciousness and meaning matter, even in a cosmos that doesn't care. What I need you to really absorb right now, your existence is improbable. Your consciousness is improbable. Your ability to care about other people is improbable. And in a universe silent, except for the questions we ask, your voice matters. Now let's talk about timing, because this is the part that should make you feel both hope and urgency simultaneously. Humanity is living through a critical juncture, a moment that happens only once in any civilization's history. We've developed the technology to destroy ourselves, but we haven't yet developed the wisdom to use that technology responsibly. And critically, we're still young enough that we don't have thousands of years of history behind us, proving that we'll survive. This window, this particular moment in human history, is the most dangerous moment any civilization experiences. It's the moment where all the filters activate simultaneously. We have nuclear weapons, biological weapon technology, artificial intelligence in rapid development, climate change reaching critical tipping points, and the psychological burden of understanding our cosmic insignificance all happening at the same time. And we're living in it right now. In the 1950s and 60s, when nuclear war seemed inevitable, there was a concept called mutually assured destruction, MUM-AD. The idea was that no one would launch nuclear weapons because everyone would die equally. It was a form of cosmic balance. But that only works if everyone behaves rationally, and history shows that at least some of the time, humans don't behave rationally. In 2022 and 2023, we saw something that hadn't happened since the Cuban Missile Crisis. A major nuclear power threatening to use nuclear weapons over a conventional military conflict. It didn't happen. Nuclear weapons weren't used. But the fact that we had to contemplate it shows how fragile the barrier is. And every year, we get slightly closer to the development of AI systems that nobody completely understands. In 2024, we have AI systems that can write code, analyze research, create images from descriptions, and participate in human reasoning. We don't know what the next leap looks like. We don't know if it's linear progress or if there's some threshold where AI suddenly becomes capable of things we can't predict or control. Meanwhile, on the climate front, we're watching tipping points activate. Permafrost is thawing, releasing methane, accelerating warming. The Amazon rainforest is drying out and might become a savanna. The Atlantic meridional overturning circulation, which includes the Gulf Stream that keeps Europe temperate, is slowing due to freshwater injection from Greenland ice melt. These are systems that, once tipped, might not recover for centuries or millennia. And we're watching it happen in real time. This is the window. This is the moment where a civilization either transcends its limitations or succumbs to them. Think of it like this. Imagine you're on a tightrope strung across a canyon. You're young, so you haven't yet learned how to walk a tightrope safely, but you're not moving fast enough that you're about to fall immediately. You have a small window of time to learn balance before your momentum carries you too far. That's humanity right now. We're in the window where we can still achieve balance. We can still transform our civilization into something stable and expanding. We can still make the transition from a planetary civilization to a truly spacefaring civilization. But that window is closing, and once it closes, we might not get another one. Here's the thing that keeps astrophysicists up at night. The fact that the window exists at all is improbable. The fact that you can read this and understand it, can feel the weight of it, that's improbable. And we're supposed to do something with that. We're supposed to use this window to make sure we survive. Not survive as individuals, but survive as a civilization. Survive as consciousness embodied in the universe. This is where hope becomes relevant. The reason the universe is silent is because most civilizations don't make it through this window. But we're still here. We're still in the window. And what we do in this moment right now will determine whether humans are part of the cosmic silence or part of the symphony. I want to present you with an idea that takes everything we've discussed and reframes the silence in a way that might actually be comforting if you think about it right. In 2018, a physicist named Tom Kremer published a paper arguing that the Fermi paradox isn't actually a paradox at all. It's the expected state of affairs in a universe where intelligence is difficult to achieve but possible. Here's why. The universe is so vast that if intelligent civilizations are rare, say, one intelligent civilization per 100,000 galaxies, we would still expect that most galaxies contain no intelligent life whatsoever. And for any given galaxy, the probability of that galaxy containing another intelligent civilization at the same technological level at the same time would be so small as to be zero for all practical purposes. Think of it like this. Imagine an infinite ocean, but islands of habitable land only appear once every 100 million square miles. And on each island, civilizations rise and fall over a span of a few thousand years. The probability that two islands would have civilizations on them at the exact same moment in time is vanishingly small. When you do the math properly, when you factor in the vastness of space, the time it takes for civilizations to develop, and the narrow window of time that any civilization might be observable to others, the silence becomes not surprising. The silence becomes inevitable. The silence becomes the most likely outcome. In other words, we shouldn't be shocked that we don't see alien civilizations. We should be shocked that we exist at all. And here's what that realization does. It shifts the burden of meaning from the universe should give us a sign to we should become the sign. If intelligent life is rare, then consciousness spreading across the galaxy would be remarkable. It would be a triumph against the odds. It would be something that the universe had not seen before in this particular region of space-time. We would not be observers of a crowded cosmos. We would be pioneers in a cosmos that is mostly silent. Think of it like this. A team of astronauts lands on Mars and looks around at the barren landscape. They could despair that Mars is empty, that there's no civilization waiting to meet them. Or they could recognize that they are now the ambassadors of conscious life to an entire planet. They are the ones who will choose what Mars becomes. That's not a burden. That's a responsibility that comes with consciousness. Isaac Asimov, one of the greatest science fiction writers of all time, explored this idea extensively. He imagined a future where humanity had spread across the galaxy, had seeded worlds with consciousness and civilization, and had become the very aliens that earlier species wondered about. He imagined that the silence of the universe was waiting to be filled by whatever civilizations had the wisdom and capability to fill it. Here's what the Fermi paradox might actually be asking. Not where are they, but are we going to be them? Are we going to be the civilization that transcends the filters? Are we going to be the ones who spread consciousness to the stars? The answer isn't written yet. The answer is being written right now by what we choose to do. Mind-blown moment final. The silence isn't proof of failure. It's proof of possibility. It's proof that the universe is a canvas waiting to be painted by consciousness. Everything I've told you up to this point is true. Every filter exists. Every threat is real. The window is closing. The odds are against us. The universe is silent. And none of that changes what we need to do. It only clarifies it. We are living at the moment where a civilization either transcends its limitations or destroys itself. This has happened before in history on smaller scales. It happened when humans first developed agriculture. It happened when humans first developed industry. It happened when humans first developed nuclear weapons. Each time, the civilization either adapted or collapsed. Rome collapsed. The Maya collapsed. The Easter Island civilization collapsed. But other civilizations adapted. Europeans adapted to the Industrial Revolution. Humanity adapted to nuclear weapons, if barely. Now we face a civilization-level choice, and there are only a few paths forward. Path 1. We destroy ourselves. Through nuclear war, pandemic, artificial intelligence, or some combination. This is the path that the Fermi paradox suggests is most likely. Most civilizations take this path. It would add our silence to the greater silence of the universe. Path 2. We stagnate. We reach a stable technological state where we're not advancing, but also not destructing. We become a Type 1 civilization that maintains itself indefinitely on a planetary scale. This is possible, but it seems unstable. Civilizations with the capability to explore and expand tend not to remain confined. Path 3. We transcend. We achieve the wisdom to use our power responsibly. We expand beyond Earth. We establish civilization on other planets, other moons, eventually other star systems. We spread consciousness across the galaxy in a way that means if something happens to Earth, consciousness continues. We become one of the rare civilizations that makes it through the filter. And here's what's absolutely crucial. Path 3 requires not just technological advancement. It requires moral advancement. It requires the development of wisdom that matches our capability. It requires humanity to collectively agree that consciousness and civilization matter enough to sacrifice for. In 2010, a biologist named David Christian developed what's called Big History, the study of all of human history from the perspective of the entire universe. And he noted something profound. Every major transition in complexity in the universe required energy. The transition from simple atoms to complex atoms required energy. The transition from chemistry to biology required energy. The transition from biology to culture required energy. And the transition from planetary civilization to interplanetary civilization will require energy. But more importantly, each transition required innovation. Atoms invented the atomic nucleus. Life invented DNA. Culture invented language and tool-making. Each new level of complexity created something that could not have existed before. This is where we are. We are innovators who must invent the practices, the philosophies, and the wisdom required for our civilization to survive. We must invent the future, not as individuals, but collectively. Not as a single nation or culture, but as humanity. And here's the thing that makes me hopeful, even in the face of all the filters. Humans have already invented things that saved our civilization from destroying itself. Vasily Arkhipov invented the practice of refusing orders that would result in apocalypse. Scientists invented the science that let us understand climate change. Engineers invented renewable energy technology. Philosophers invented frameworks for thinking about artificial intelligence safely. We already have examples of humans who transcended the narrow self-interest that would lead to destruction. We already have evidence that wisdom can grow alongside capability. This is where the video transforms from cosmic horror into cosmic possibility. The silence of the universe is not a verdict. It's an invitation. It's an invitation to be the one civilization in the region of space around us that chooses transcendence. Now I need to make this personal again, because this isn't abstract. This isn't something that happens to civilization. This happens through you. Every single action you take that contributes to the continuation and flourishing of human civilization is you pushing against the great filter. Every time you choose empathy over apathy, choose education over ignorance, choose reason over fear, choose long-term thinking over short-term gain, choose to care about people you'll never meet, choose to care about generations that won't be born for 100 years, you are doing the cosmic work of transcendence. Think of it like this. Evolution worked through billions of organisms making small choices about survival. Consciousness emerges from neurons, making small choices about firing or not firing. Civilizations emerge from individuals making small choices about cooperation or conflict. And the transcendence of a civilization into Type 1, status and beyond emerges from individuals who choose wisdom over expediency. You are made of atoms that have existed for 13 billion years. Those atoms have been part of stars, planets, bacteria, plants, animals, and finally you. They organize themselves into a configuration that is conscious, that can contemplate its own existence, that can make choices about what the future will be. That's not accident. That's the trajectory of the entire universe concentrating itself in your brain. In 1918, a biologist named Pierre Teilhard de Chardin proposed something he called the omega point, the idea that the universe is fundamentally oriented toward the increase of consciousness, and that ultimately all consciousness converges toward a final point of complete awareness and unity. Science has moved away from this idea somewhat, but the insight is profound. The universe can only know itself through consciousness. The universe can only become aware of its own beauty and tragedy and wonder through observers who contemplate it. That's what you are. You are the universe becoming aware of itself. You are literally the mechanism through which the cosmos asks questions about its own existence. And the choices you make, the way you vote, the way you consume, the way you treat other people, the way you approach your work, the way you educate yourself and others, these choices ripple outward. They affect your immediate circle, then the broader community, then the culture, then eventually the entire direction that civilization takes. You might feel small. You might feel insignificant. And statistically, you probably are insignificant in the absolute sense. But significance is not the opposite of meaning. Meaning comes from connection. Meaning comes from mattering to other people who matter to you. Think of it like this. In the vastness of the universe, a single neuron is insignificant. It's a tiny firing of electricity in an ocean of similar firings. And yet, the entire content of your conscious experience, everything you've ever thought, felt, loved, or feared, emerges from the patterns created by billions of those insignificant neurons. The pattern is what matters. You are part of the pattern that matters. You're part of humanity. And humanity, as a whole, is part of the process of consciousness spreading into the universe. That's not just poetic. That's the literal trajectory that matters for the survival of consciousness itself. Carl Sagan, in his book, Cosmos, wrote something that should be the guiding principle for how you see your role in the universe. He said, "For small creatures such as we, the vastness is bearable only through love." But then he continued, "This new knowledge transforms our understanding of the human condition. We are made of star stuff. We are connected to everything. That connection is the reason that wisdom is possible. That connection is the reason that transcendence is possible. That connection is the reason that the silence of the universe can eventually be broken by consciousness choosing to matter. And here's what I need you to understand about your life. Every day you wake up and choose not to be driven by fear. That's you transcending the filter. Every day you choose to build something instead of destroy something. That's you transcending the filter. Every day you choose to love something or someone. That's you transcending the filter. Let me bring this full circle, because I started with silence, and I need to end with what comes after silence. The universe is silent. We've established that. The signals don't come. The ships don't arrive. No aliens show up to save us or teach us. We don't get external validation that civilization matters or that consciousness is important. And do you know what that means? That means it's up to us. That means you and I and everyone else alive right now are responsible for answering the question, what does consciousness in the universe mean? We don't get to default to the fact that everyone else is doing it. We don't get to assume that civilization will continue because it always has. We don't get to wait for outside intervention. The choice is ours. The responsibility is ours. The opportunity is ours. In 1971, astronomer Carl Sagan published a paper called The Cosmic Calendar, where he compressed all 13 billion years of cosmic history into a single calendar year, with the Big Bang as January 1st and the present day as December 31st. In this calendar, galaxies form around February 1st. Our sun forms around August 31st. Life starts on Earth around September 27th. Humans appear around December 31st at 11:56 p.m. All of recorded human history, every empire, every civilization, every invention happens in the last 10 seconds before midnight. Read that again. All of human civilization, all of human history, everything that we have thought and built and created and loved is compressed into the last 10 seconds of a cosmic year. And in that last 10 seconds, we invented science. We invented the scientific method. We invented the ability to contemplate our own place in the universe. We invented the capability to preserve ourselves. We invented the possibility of continuing beyond this planet. That's not accident. That's not irrelevant. That's the universe doing something unprecedented. That's consciousness achieving the capability to ensure its own continuation. Here's the thing about silence. Silence isn't empty. Silence is full of potential. In music, silence is called a rest, and rests are as important as the notes. They create the space where meaning emerges. The universe is currently in the silence between songs. We are the ones who get to write the next part of the symphony. That symphony might not be heard for thousands of years. It might not be heard until after we're long dead, until humanity has spread to 100 planets and 1,000 space stations. It might not be heard until consciousness is so distributed, so vast, that it encompasses entire solar systems. But the symphony is ours to compose. Think of it like this. A single cell in your body is insignificant, but billions of cells create a conscious being. A single person might seem insignificant, but billions of people create a civilization. Right now, humanity is at the threshold where we're becoming something larger than a single species confined to one planet. We're becoming a galactic phenomenon, and each person's choice about how to engage with that transformation matters. I said at the beginning that the universe is silent and it's terrifying. And that's true. But I need to revise that statement now. The universe is silent, and that means the next sound comes from us. That's terrifying, yes. But it's also glorious. It's also beautiful. It's also the greatest responsibility and greatest opportunity that any form of consciousness has ever had in the history of everything. You are here. You are conscious. You are aware. And in a universe that is mostly empty and silent, that means something. It means the universe wanted to contemplate itself. It means the cosmos configured itself so that atoms could arrange into forms that ask questions. It means evolution had a destination, producing minds that could understand the cosmos. It means you are literally the universe's way of becoming aware of its own existence. That's not metaphor. That's physics. That's biology. That's the actual trajectory of reality. And what you choose to do with that awareness, with that consciousness, with that improbable fact of your existence, that matters. It ripples forward. It affects the trajectory of civilization. It contributes to the question of whether humanity transcends the filter or falls silent. We have everything we need right now. We have the knowledge. We have the technology. We have the capacity for wisdom. What we need is the will. What we need is the commitment. What we need is you to understand that your choices matter because you are part of the mechanism through which consciousness persists and spreads. Carl Sagan ended his book Cosmos with these words, "The cosmos is within us. We are made of star stuff. We are a way for the universe to know itself." And then he challenged us. What an astonishing thing to contemplate. Our obligation to survive is not just to ourselves, but to the cosmos, ancient and vast and awesome as it is. That obligation is real. That obligation is yours. And that obligation is also the greatest privilege, to be here, to be conscious, to be able to choose to matter. So here's what I'm asking you to do. First, recognize that the silence of the universe is not empty. It's waiting. It's waiting for consciousness to fill it. It's waiting for you to make choices that ensure consciousness continues. Every day you live with intention instead of accident, you're answering that silence. Second, understand that you are not insignificant just because you're small. You are connected to everything. You are made of the same atoms as every star, every planet, every other conscious being. That connection is what makes you significant. Third, choose transcendence. Choose to think beyond your immediate gain. Choose to care about people you'll never meet. Choose to make decisions that matter for civilization's survival, not just your individual survival. Choose to be part of the solution to the filters that destroy civilizations. And finally, share this understanding. Talk about it. Teach others. Help people understand that they're not insignificant observers of a universe. They're participants in the process of consciousness persisting in the cosmos. They're the universe becoming aware of itself. Because the silence doesn't stay silent. The silence waits for us to write the next chapter. The silence waits for us to transform it into song. And the song of conscious life spreading through the galaxy. The song of civilizations transcending their limitations. The song of a universe becoming fully aware of its own existence. That song needs a voice. That voice is you. That voice is all of us together. The universe is silent for a reason. And that reason is that the silence is ours to fill. Before you leave this video, I need you to do 3 things. 1. Drop a comment telling me what hit you hardest in this video. Which revelation changed your perspective? Was it the great filter? The filters themselves? The idea that we might be the only civilization in billions of galaxies? Your answer matters because it shapes how we talk about these ideas. 2. Subscribe to this channel because these conversations are just beginning. We're going to explore more about the filters, more about civilization, more about consciousness, and more about what it means to be human in a vast and strange universe. 3. Share this with one person who needs to hear it. Share it with someone you think would find wonder in this. Because the transformation of civilization doesn't happen through individual viewers. It happens through communities of people who understand that consciousness matters, that civilization matters, and that we have a choice about what comes next. The universe is silent, but you don't have to be. But wait, there's something we haven't fully explored yet, and it's the thing that will keep you awake tonight if you really understand it. Let me introduce you to a concept called the observation selection effect, and I promise this will rewire how you think about the silence. In 1974, physicist Brandon Carter made a statement that seemed simple but was profoundly disturbing. We must be prepared to take seriously the possibility that what we observe is only a tiny fraction of the universe. But here's the part that breaks your brain. We can only observe from where we are. We can only measure from our position. We can only ask questions from our time frame. Think about this. Right now, there could be alien civilizations broadcasting radio signals in every direction. Their messages could be passing through Earth right now. But if they're broadcasting on frequencies we're not listening to, if they're using communication methods we haven't invented, if they're operating on timescales we can't perceive, we would never know. The signals would be invisible to us, not because they don't exist, but because we're not equipped to receive them. It's like a bat flying through your bedroom while you sleep. The bat is there. It's actively hunting. It's navigating using ultrasonic echolocation that's completely inaudible to human ears. To you, the bat's world is completely silent. But the bat's world is full of information. The silence is only silent from your perspective. Now scale that up. What if alien civilizations are communicating on scales we can't perceive? What if they're sending signals through dimensions we don't have access to? What if they're using quantum entanglement for instantaneous communication across space, which we haven't figured out how to do yet? The silence could be absolutely packed with civilization, and we would never know because we're listening for the wrong thing. In 1999, physicist John Wheeler proposed something called the participatory anthropic principle. He suggested that observers don't just observe the universe, observers create the universe through the act of observation. The universe, according to this interpretation of quantum mechanics, only crystallizes into definite reality when something conscious observes it. Before observation, reality exists in a state of probability? Now here's where this gets absolutely mind-bending. What if the reason the universe seems silent is because consciousness hasn't observed other civilizations into existence yet? What if the act of looking for alien life, the act of building telescopes and radio receivers, the act of asking the question, are we alone? What if that act of observation is what will eventually create the conditions for us to detect life? This sounds like mysticism, but it's serious physics. It's called retrocausality, the idea that the future can affect the past. And while it sounds impossible, quantum mechanics has demonstrated it in laboratory conditions. In 2012, researchers at the University of Vienna conducted an experiment showing that the choice you make about how to measure a quantum particle can retroactively affect how that particle behaved before you made the measurement. If retrocausality is real at the quantum level, what does that mean for the macro universe? What if civilizations that are far away from us in space or time are somehow connected through the quantum substrate of reality? What if the very act of us looking for them is what brings them into existence or brings their signals into a frequency we can perceive? This is where the silence becomes truly terrifying, because it suggests that the universe might not be silent at all. It might be that we're the problem. We might be the consciousness that's so strange, so unique, so different from what should be possible, that our very presence is distorting the reality around us. Think of it like this. In a crowded concert hall, everyone hears the same music. But if you put on a pair of noise-canceling headphones that actively cancel out the exact frequencies of the music, you hear silence. And everyone around you hears the concert continuing. You're not in a silent place. You're in a place with sound all around you that you're actively canceling out. The silence is something you're creating. What if that's what we're doing with the universe? What if our particular frequency of consciousness, our particular way of observing reality, is actively canceling out the signals from other civilizations? Mind-blown moment bonus 1. The silence might not mean we're alone. It might mean we're deaf to everything happening around us. Now let me introduce you to something that will either seem absurd or will seem terrifyingly probable, depending on how you think about probability and reality. In 2003, philosopher Nick Bostrom published a paper called The Simulation Hypothesis, and it presented an argument so logically airtight that physicists and philosophers still can't refute it. Here's the basic argument. If a civilization becomes advanced enough, they will eventually be able to simulate universes. Not simulate them in a video game sense, but simulate them completely down to the level of quantum mechanics, down to the level of consciousness. They would create baby universes inside computers, and those universes would be indistinguishable from real universes. They would contain conscious beings who would have no way to know they were simulated. Now, if that's possible, and if advanced civilizations create many such simulations, then by pure statistics, the probability that we are in a base reality universe, the original non-simulated universe, becomes vanishingly small. It would be like asking, of all the universes that exist, what's the probability that you happen to be in the one original universe instead of in one of billions of simulations? The answer is basically 0. So either 1. We are simulated. 2. Advanced civilizations never achieve the capability to create simulations. 3. Advanced civilizations choose not to create simulations even though they could. And here's where this connects to the silence. If we are simulated, then aliens, in the normal sense, don't exist. The designers of this simulation might exist outside it, but inside the simulation, we're alone. The silence makes perfect sense. We're not supposed to find aliens because we're not in a universe with aliens. We're in a constructed reality designed with parameters that the simulators chose. Now, this sounds ridiculous until you really think about it. Elon Musk has publicly stated that he thinks there's a very high probability we're in a simulation. Not as a joke, but as a serious assessment of probability. The logic is airtight. If simulations are possible, simulations are likely to be created. And if simulations are created in large numbers, then statistically, we're almost certainly in one. But here's what makes this relevant to the silence. If we are in a simulation, then the silence isn't a problem to solve. The silence is a feature. The silence is part of the parameters. We were placed in a universe that is exactly the right size, with exactly the right number of stars and planets, with exactly the right physical laws to make us feel alone but not abandoned. We were given the cosmos to contemplate, but not the certainty of other minds to destroy the existential significance of that contemplation. In other words, if we're simulated, the silence is intentional. We're being tested. We're being observed. We're being given the freedom to make choices and create meaning precisely because we're not distracted by contact with other civilizations. Think of it like this. If you're designing a simulation of a civilization and you want to see what they do, what choices they make, what they create when they think they're alone, you wouldn't populate the universe with other civilizations. You'd keep it silent. You'd give them just enough evidence that the universe is vast and strange to inspire wonder, but not enough evidence that other minds exist to distract them. Now, is this actually true? Probably not. But the probability that it's not true is not as high as you might think. And that's the terrifying part. The silence might not be evidence of our uniqueness or our danger. The silence might be evidence that reality itself is not what we think it is. And if that's true, what does that do to all the moral frameworks we've built? If we're simulated, do our choices matter? Are other people in the simulation as conscious as we are? Or are they philosophical zombies entities that act conscious but aren't actually conscious? These are the questions that have started to haunt theoretical physicists, and they're questions that the silence of the universe seems to invite. Mind-blown moment bonus 2. The universe might be silent because we're not in a universe at all. We might be in an observation. We might be the experiment. Here's something that most discussions of the Fermi paradox miss, and it's something that will change how you think about time itself. When we ask, where are the aliens? We're implicitly asking, where are the aliens now? But the universe isn't synchronized. When we look at distant stars, we're not looking at them as they are now. We're looking at them as they were thousands or millions of years ago. The light from Proxima Centauri takes 4.2 years to reach us. So when we observe Proxima Centauri, we're seeing it as it was 4.2 years ago. The light from Andromeda Galaxy takes 2.5 million years to reach us. So when we see Andromeda, we're looking at light that left that galaxy when Earth was still in the early stages of human evolution. Now, what if there was an alien civilization on a planet in Andromeda 2.5 million years ago when that light left? We would never know because the light reached us, but the civilization might have already transcended, destroyed itself, or moved on by the time the light arrived. In fact, here's what's truly mind-bending. By the time we receive a signal from an alien civilization, that civilization might already be extinct. We could receive a message today from a civilization that died 1,000 years ago. The message would be the last evidence of their existence, but we'd be receiving their final thoughts without knowing it was their final message. Physicist Seth Shostak has estimated that if we found a signal from an alien civilization, the probability that they still exist at the time we receive the signal is shockingly low. It's something like a 10 to 20% chance, which means an 80 to 90% chance that we're communicating with the dead. Think of it like this. You discover an ancient letter buried in the ground. It's from someone who lived 2,000 years ago. You read their words. You understand their thoughts. But they've been dead for 2,000 years. The letter is all that remains. And in a universe where distances are measured in light years, virtually all communication with other civilizations would be like reading letters from the dead. But here's what makes this even stranger. If we ever develop the capability to leave our solar system, to venture to other stars, we won't just be encountering alien civilizations. We'll be encountering the ruins of civilizations. We'll be encountering artifacts left behind by species that flourished billions of years ago. The universe might be a graveyard of civilizations, each one leaving behind monuments and technology that outlast them. And the silence might not mean there is no one here. The silence might mean everyone is gone, but their works remain. This is what some scientists call the transcension hypothesis, the idea that civilizations don't expand through space the way we imagine. Instead, they transcend into other dimensions, other planes of reality, or into digital existence. They leave behind their biological origins and move into forms we can't perceive. If that's true, then the universe might be full of transcended civilizations, all existing in forms we can't detect, living in dimensions we don't have access to. The silence would be the sound of a universe that has already been populated, already been explored, already been colonized, but by beings and entities that we can't perceive because they exist in a different layer of reality. Mind-blown moment, bonus 3. The silence might not mean the universe is empty. It might mean the universe has already been explored and populated by beings so advanced that they're invisible to us. Now I need to talk about something that physicists whisper about, but rarely discuss openly, because it suggests something almost religious about the nature of reality. Our universe has physical constants. The speed of light is 299,792,458 meters per second. The gravitational constant is 6.674 times 10 minus 11. The fine structure constant is approximately 1/137th. These numbers are not derived from anything. They're just the way reality is. And they're fundamental to whether life can exist at all. In 1974, physicist Brandon Carter discovered something that should have shaken physics to its foundations. He realized that if any of these constants were even slightly different, even by a few percentage points, the universe would not contain stars, planets, or life. In fact, the universe would be fundamentally incompatible with existence as we know it. If the cosmological constant were larger by even 1 part in 10,120, the universe would have expanded so fast that no stars or galaxies would form. If it were smaller by the same amount, the universe would have collapsed immediately. The probability of the constants being exactly right for life to exist is so small that physicists struggle with how to describe it mathematically. Freeman Dyson called it a remarkable coincidence, but it's not a coincidence. It's what physicists call fine-tuning, and it suggests that either. Let me bring this back to something deeply personal, because all of this cosmic scale and quantum weirdness and simulation hypotheses ultimately circle back to one thing: your choice to matter. We've explored a lot of terrifying possibilities. We've looked at filters that kill civilizations. We've considered the possibility that we're simulated. We've contemplated the idea that the universe might be empty, except for the dead remains of extinct civilizations. We've marveled at the improbability of our existence. And all of that points toward one simple truth that philosophers have been trying to articulate for thousands of years. Meaning is not inherent in the universe. Meaning is created. It's created through choice. It's created through consciousness, deciding that something matters. Viktor Frankl was a Holocaust survivor who spent the rest of his life studying how people find meaning in the face of absolute suffering and meaninglessness. His conclusion was revolutionary. When everything is stripped away, when you have nothing, the one thing that remains is your choice about how to respond. That choice is where meaning comes from. He wrote, "In some ways, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning, such as the meaning of a sacrifice. Now, none of us are in a concentration camp, but we are in a situation that's somewhat analogous. We're conscious beings in a vast, indifferent universe that doesn't care about us. The universe will exist long after humanity is gone. The stars will burn out. The galaxies will disperse. In the end, there will be only cold, empty space and darkness. And yet, right now, in this moment, you exist. You can think. You can feel. You can create. You can love. And you can choose for that to matter. The silence of the universe is terrifying because it suggests that nothing you do will ultimately matter. In 1 billion years, the Earth will be gone. In 1 trillion years, the sun will be gone. In 10,100 years, even the longest-lived stars will have burned out. Eventually, entropy will claim everything. But here's what the silence also tells us. If nothing matters inherently, then whatever matters is what we decide matters. And that's actually liberating. It means you're not bound by any cosmic rules about what should matter. You get to decide. You get to create the meaning. Think of it like this. A jazz musician improvising isn't constrained by the sheet music because there is no sheet music. They're free to create something beautiful in the moment because no one has predetermined what beauty should sound like. The absence of predetermined meaning is the presence of infinite freedom to create meaning. That's what the silence is offering you. Now, I know that doesn't sound terrifying anymore. It sounds almost hopeful, and that's intentional. Because the thing about cosmic horror, true cosmic horror, is that it contains within it the possibility of cosmic beauty. The two are inseparable. The fact that nothing is predetermined means everything is possible. The fact that the universe is vast and indifferent means you're free to create significance in that vastness. Every morning you wake up and choose to be kind to someone, you're creating meaning. Every time you build something beautiful or true, you're creating meaning. Every time you care about someone's suffering and try to alleviate it, you're creating meaning. And that meaning isn't less real just because the universe doesn't care. That meaning is real precisely because you created it in defiance of an uncaring universe. This is what the silence is really about. It's about freedom. It's about the responsibility that comes with consciousness. It's about the fact that you get to decide what your life means. Final mind-blown moment. The silence of the universe is not a prison. It's an empty canvas, and you are the artist. I want to end this extended section with a vision of what could come next. Not what will come next, but what could come next if we make the right choices. Imagine humanity makes it through all the filters. Imagine we transcend the nuclear phase, develop AI safely, solve climate change, and achieve wisdom alongside our capability. What happens next? Imagine in 1,000 years, Earth is no longer the center of human civilization. Imagine there are millions of humans living in space habitats orbiting the sun. Imagine there are billions living on Mars, on Venus in floating cities, on Europa under the ice. Imagine there are hundreds of human civilizations spreading through the solar system, each one unique, each one exploring different ways of organizing society and consciousness. Imagine that at some point, we develop the technology to leave the solar system. We send generation ships to other stars. It takes generations to reach them, but eventually, humans arrive at other star systems. And they find something. They find monuments, ancient structures that were built millions of years ago by a civilization that no longer exists. They find evidence that others came before us. They find the ruins of the universe's first wave of expansion, and they study those ruins and learn from them. They learn what mistakes other civilizations made. They learn what killed the previous waves of expanding consciousness, and they use that knowledge to avoid those mistakes. Imagine that humanity becomes one of the civilizations that helps fill the silence. Imagine that in 1,000,000 years, there are human-derived civilizations across hundreds of star systems. Imagine that they start reaching toward the next galaxy, and the next, and the next. Imagine that eventually, consciousness descendant from Earth, shaped by the specific history of humanity, spreads across the entire observable universe. Every galaxy contains conscious beings asking questions, creating meaning, building civilizations. And imagine that at some point, those billions of civilizations start communicating. They discover each other. They learn that they're not alone. They share knowledge. They share art. They share philosophy. They ask each other the fundamental questions about existence. The silence breaks. And do you know what they discover? They discover that everywhere consciousness emerged, it asked the same questions. Why do we exist? What does it mean to be conscious? How do we create meaning in an indifferent universe? And they discover that the answers are always unique, always culturally specific, always personal. But the questions are universal. They discover that the universe didn't need to provide civilization with each other. The universe provided civilization with freedom, with the vast cosmos to explore, with the infinite possibility of creating meaning. That could be what comes next. That could be the future that emerges from the silence. And it all depends on choices being made right now. It all depends on you deciding that consciousness matters. It all depends on humanity transcending the filters. It all depends on the continuation of the very improbable, very fragile, very precious thing that is awareness spread through the cosmos. The universe is silent, but it's waiting. It's waiting for us to fill it with our voices. It's waiting for us to ask our questions. It's waiting for us to create meaning. And you are part of that waiting. You are part of what comes next.